Have you ever wondered how close you've come to danger without even realizing it? At Shivering Vault, we take you there, one story at a time. But before you drift off, consider liking this video, commenting where you're watching from and at what time, and subscribing to keep these chilling stories coming. Now, let's dive into these unsettling tales. I've never really told this story to anyone except a few close friends. I'm older now, but back then, I was 10 years old, and it's something I still think about almost every day. I live in California, and this happened in a pretty normal, quiet neighborhood. You know the type. Green lawns, trimmed hedges, families that wave when they walk their dogs. It's the kind of place where you think nothing bad ever happens. But I guess that's what makes it scarier. It was a Friday afternoon, and my school had just let out. I was walking home with my backpack. It was warm, but not too hot. One of those spring days where the sun stays out longer and everything smells like grass and asphalt. I was in a good mood. My parents had told me earlier in the week they were going out that night to some work event or dinner party, I forget which, and I was going to have my usual babysitter, Jamie. I liked Jamie. She was in college, funny, always brought snacks, and didn't mind watching cartoons with me. But when I walked through the front door and dropped my bag by the shoe rack, my mom was standing in the kitchen, still in her work clothes, looking kind of annoyed. She had her phone in one hand and her purse in the other. She looked up at me and said, "Hey, honey. So, small change of plans. Jamie had a family emergency, so someone else will be coming by tonight. Her name's Samantha. She's a friend of Jamie's and she's watched kids before, so don't worry, okay?" I remember kind of frowning at that. I didn't like new people, especially not people I didn't know who would be in my house. I asked her like 5 questions right away. How do you know her? Is she nice? How old is she? Does she have kids? Is she going to bring snacks? My mom laughed it off and said I'd be fine. "She's super nice. You'll like her," she said. Then she gave me a hug and left pretty soon after. My dad was already waiting in the car. They were gone by 5:45. Samantha showed up around 6. I remember the exact time because I was sitting on the couch watching SpongeBob, and the doorbell rang right in the middle of Squidward yelling about something. I peeked through the front blinds, and she was standing there, smiling. She had long brown hair in a ponytail, a light pink sweater, jeans, and white sneakers that looked brand new. She waved at me through the window before I even said anything. That smile didn't move from her face. I opened the door just a little, like I'd been taught, and she leaned down to eye level and said, "Hi, you must be Ethan. I'm Samantha, your babysitter tonight." She sounded too happy. Not fake exactly, but too much. Like she was trying really hard. It made me feel weird, but I was just a kid, so I let her in. She smelled like lavender and gum. She walked in like she already knew the house. She didn't ask where anything was. She dropped her purse on the dining table, slipped off her shoes, and said, "Let's order some pizza. What do you like, cheese or pepperoni?" I told her pepperoni, and she pulled out her phone and ordered it right there, speaking so fast it was hard to keep up. "Okay," she said cheerfully. "That'll be here in about 30 minutes. Want to watch some cartoons while we wait?" I nodded and we sat back on the couch. But she wasn't really watching the TV. She kept checking her phone every couple minutes. Her fingers were flying across the screen, texting someone, scrolling, then typing again. She barely looked up at the TV except to laugh once in a while, and even that seemed forced. I thought maybe she was just bored, but it still felt off. I've had babysitters before who played on their phones, but something about the way she kept glancing at me, then back down to type, gave me a weird, almost sick feeling in my stomach. Then, about 15 minutes later, she got up and walked into the kitchen. I thought she was just getting something to drink, but I could hear her opening cupboards going through drawers. She came back with a blender. "You like smoothies?" she asked. "I make really good smoothies." I shrugged. I mean, I didn't hate smoothies, but I thought it was weird she was making one at 6:30 p.m. when we had pizza coming. "I'll make you a special one," she said. "Just a small one, to try. It's healthy, but sweet." She was in the kitchen for a while. I could hear the blender going, then stopping, then starting again. It was loud. When she finally came back, she handed me a glass of this pale green stuff that smelled like bananas and something else I couldn't name. "Here you go," she said with that big smile again. "Try it." I took a sip. It tasted fine, kind of like banana and spinach and something chalky. I didn't like it. I set it down on the coffee table when she wasn't looking. That's when things started getting even weirder. She went around the house and started locking all the doors. Not just the front door, but the side door to the garage, the sliding glass door to the backyard, even the windows in the living room. I watched her do it. She didn't say anything about why. Then she turned off most of the lights, except for the one in the hallway. I asked why, and she just said, "It's cozier like this, don't you think?" No, it wasn't cozy. It felt wrong. The living room was now just dim enough that the corners looked like they were moving. I sat stiff on the couch and pretended to watch TV, but I wasn't really watching anymore. That's when I heard her talking on the phone. She didn't think I could hear her, but I was close. She was standing just around the corner in the hallway, her voice low but tense. I muted the TV so I could listen. "I'm in the master bedroom now. He can come in through the back." Yeah, the kid's here. "No, I gave him something, but he didn't finish it. I don't think he liked it." My heart dropped. I froze. I knew then something was seriously wrong. I got up and tiptoed to the hallway. I didn't go all the way, just far enough to peek around the corner when she went into my parents' room. The door was cracked open, and I could see her going through the drawers in my mom's dresser. She was pulling stuff out, jewelry boxes, envelopes, papers. She put some of it into her purse. I didn't breathe. My ears were ringing. I backed away, went to the bathroom, and locked the door. Hands shaking, I sat on the toilet lid and pulled my phone from my pocket. I didn't have it with me all the time back then, but my parents let me keep one for emergencies. This felt like an emergency. I called 911. I whispered. I told the lady my address. I told her there was someone in my house pretending to be my babysitter, that she had said something about a man coming in the back, that she gave me something weird to drink. She told me to stay calm. Help was on the way. Then I waited. Minutes felt like hours. Samantha came to the bathroom door and knocked softly. "Honey, are you okay? You've been in there a while? Are you feeling sick? Maybe the smoothie didn't agree with you? Come on out. I'll make you something else." I didn't say a word. She knocked again, a little louder. "Sweetheart, seriously, this is silly. I was just looking for a Band-Aid in your parents' room. That's all. I wasn't doing anything weird. You're overreacting." I stayed silent. Then she started getting angry, banging on the door. Her voice changed. "Open the door right now or I swear." Then it stopped. I didn't know what she was doing. I just knew I couldn't open that door. And then I heard something else. A loud knock from the front of the house. Then voices, deep ones. "Police! Open up!" Everything exploded after that. The second I heard the pounding at the front door and the shouting, I think I finally let out the breath I'd been holding for. Everything after that moved both really fast and really slow at the same time, if that makes any sense. From inside the bathroom, I heard the front door opening, like, quickly, not unlocked normally either. It slammed into the wall. I could hear shoes stomping on the wood floors, multiple people, and then yelling. Commands mostly. "Get on the ground! Show me your hands! Down on your knees now!" I couldn't see anything, obviously, but I could picture it all in my head, and it was terrifying. I was still too scared to come out. Someone pounded on the bathroom door next. "This is the police," a man's voice called. "Are you okay? Kid, are you in there?" I scrambled to unlock the door. My hands were shaking so bad I kept missing the little latch, but I finally got it open, and the door swung wide. There were 2 officers standing there, both in full uniform. One of them crouched down a little and looked me right in the eyes. "You did really good," he said quietly, calmly. "You're safe now." I nodded, but I couldn't say anything. I think I was in shock or something. They brought me out to the front porch and had me sit down on the bench there. It was cool outside now. The sun had gone down and the porch light cast long shadows over the driveway. Samantha was already in handcuffs, sitting on the curb with another officer standing over her. Her face looked totally different now. No fake smile, no cheery attitude, just cold, angry, like she'd been caught stealing candy and was pissed about it. I didn't know it at the time, but she'd tried to run, tried to sneak out the back like she'd planned with that guy, but the cops had gotten to the house just in time. While I sat there, wrapped in a blanket one of the officers gave me, two other squad cars rolled up. They arrested a man a few houses down. He was in a black car, engine running, parked under a tree with the lights off. They found gloves in his pocket and a ski mask under the seat. That was her boyfriend. The scariest part came after, when the police went through Samantha's purse and found a little bag. Inside was duct tape, some zip ties, and a small plastic vial filled with crushed pills. Later, they said it was some kind of sedative, strong enough to knock me out if I'd finished that smoothie. I think that's when everything really hit me. If I had drunk the whole thing, if I hadn't gone to the bathroom, if I hadn't called 911, they probably would have tied me up, drugged me, and who knows what else. Stolen everything, maybe left me locked in a closet. Maybe worse. Maybe I wouldn't have woken up. The officers didn't say all of that directly to me, obviously, but I was old enough to put it together. My parents got home maybe an hour later. I've never seen them look so pale, so panicked. My mom dropped her purse right on the sidewalk and just ran up and hugged me. She didn't even ask what happened right away, just held me for what felt like forever. My dad was talking to the police, but even he looked like he was shaking. They had so many questions. I did too. I told them everything I could remember, about the smoothie, about the phone call in the hallway, about her going through their bedroom drawers. The police told my parents that Samantha wasn't on any agency list. She wasn't background checked, certified, or registered. Jamie, our original babysitter, really had a family emergency, but she'd made the mistake of posting about it on social media, saying she was looking for someone to cover a last-minute gig. Samantha had responded. They'd never even met in person. Samantha and her boyfriend had done this before, not here in our neighborhood, but in other cities. They would find families through babysitting posts, pretend to be fill-ins, and rob them while the parents were out. For a while after, I couldn't sleep in my own bed. I kept thinking I'd hear her in the hallway again, whispering on her phone. My parents installed a security system the next day. They started locking everything, even in the daytime. They never hired a babysitter again unless they knew the person personally and had a full background check. It's been years since then, but I still don't trust people who smile too much, especially people I don't know. I learned something that night that most 10-year-olds don't. That real danger doesn't look like monsters or ghosts or haunted houses. Sometimes it looks like a girl in a pink sweater with a ponytail and a smile. I've told a few people this story in real life, and some believe me, some don't. I honestly don't care. I just know I'm never babysitting again, not after what happened. This happened in 2021 in Northern California. I was 20 at the time and in my second year of college. I had a part-time job at a bookstore, but I picked up babysitting gigs on weekends for extra cash. Most were easy. Movie night, pizza, keep the kids from dying, go home. This one was different. A friend of a friend had recommended me to a family, the Harpers. They lived way up in the redwoods in one of those weird half-hidden houses tucked into a mountain road. I'd never been that far north before. It was supposed to be a simple weekend job. Watch their two kids, ages 4 and 7, from Friday evening to Sunday afternoon, while the parents were at a wine retreat a few hours away. The mom emailed me beforehand, seemed nice. She said their internet could be spotty and cell signal might drop, but they had a landline. I left Friday around 3 p.m. The drive started normal enough, freeway, exit ramp, GPS chirping instructions, but once I hit the last 30 minutes, it turned into winding roads, thick forest on both sides, and a fog that looked like it belonged in a horror movie. No joke, it was like the deeper I got into those trees, the quieter the world became. I don't mean just cars or people. I mean everything. The trees were tall and thick and cast these long shadows even though it wasn't even 5 p.m. yet. I started getting that weird, crawling feeling in my stomach, like I was somewhere I didn't belong. When I pulled into the driveway, I almost didn't see the house at first. It was mostly hidden behind big cedar trees, with a long gravel path and a weird little mailbox shaped like a bear. The house was big, 2 stories, wood paneled, very modern, but in that this cost way too much kind of way. One of those homes people build when they want to feel like they're in a cabin but still own a Tesla. The Harpers were already standing on the porch. The dad was tall and thin, barely looked at me. The mom smiled a lot. She seemed distracted, kept checking her watch and looking back at the house. The kids were cute, though. Sam, the younger one, had juice stains on his mouth and immediately asked if I liked dinosaurs. The older one, Lily, was quieter but polite. She showed me her stuffed unicorn and then ran off again. The mom gave me a fast, kind of rushed tour. Kitchen, bathroom, bedrooms, landline in their room upstairs. Keep the kids out of the forest, it gets really dark fast. She said it like it was a joke, but I didn't laugh. Then they were gone. Their SUV disappeared down the driveway, swallowed up by trees and fog. That's when the house got quiet. We spent the first hour just hanging out. I made them grilled cheese. We watched Finding Nemo. Everything seemed fine. The kids were chill, the house was clean, and the forest outside wasn't so creepy with the lights on. But when it started getting darker, I felt that tight feeling in my chest again. I was sitting on the couch with Sam curled up next to me, and Lily was playing with her toys on the rug. I got up to check the back door. It was one of those big sliding glass ones that led to the patio. I reached out to flip the deadbolt when I saw him. There was a man standing behind the back fence, still, half shadowed by the trees, just watching. Not moving, not waving, just staring. At first, I thought it was one of the good neighbors they'd mentioned, but he wasn't standing on the path or driveway. He was in the trees, like in them, like he'd been there before I looked. And when I made eye contact with him, I swear to God, he just turned and walked away. No reaction, no surprise, just gone. I told myself it was nothing. A hiker, maybe. A neighbor taking a shortcut. Still, I locked every single door and checked every window. That night, after the kids went to bed, the silence in the house got overwhelming. No cars, no crickets, just the occasional creak of the wood floors and the soft hum of the fridge. I sat in the living room scrolling through my phone, but the signal was already dropping in and out. I sent my roommate a "just got here, all good" text, but I don't think it ever delivered. I was trying not to freak myself out when I heard something outside. At first, it was soft, just little scrapes. I figured raccoons or something. Then it got louder. Footsteps, on gravel. Someone or something walking around the side of the house. Slow, steady steps, like they weren't trying to hide it. I turned off the lamp. My heart was beating so fast I could barely breathe. I peeked through the blinds. Nothing. Then the power cut. Everything, TV, lamps, even the fridge hum, went dead. I was standing in the middle of that huge, expensive, glass-heavy house with no lights, no service, and 2 kids upstairs. And that's when I heard it. Knock. From the back door. Then another. Then the door handle rattled. Loud, sharp jerks like someone was yanking on it, trying to force it open. I didn't scream, but I froze. I couldn't think. I just ran upstairs to the kids' room, locked the door, and shoved a chair under the knob. Sam and Lily were still asleep. I crawled into the closet and sat there in the dark. And then, from somewhere in the house below, I heard the soft creak of a door opening. I sat there in the dark, crouched in the closet, with one hand still on the kids' closet door and the other shaking so hard I could barely keep my phone grip steady. But I knew I had to move. I had to do something. Then I remembered what the mom said during the rush tour. There was a landline in the parents' bedroom. I didn't want to leave the kids, but I couldn't just sit there while someone was literally in the house. The door had creaked open downstairs. I heard it. He was in, whoever he was. I whispered Lily's name until she stirred. I kept my voice calm, low. I didn't want her to panic. I told her we were going to play a hiding game and that she had to keep her little brother quiet in the closet no matter what. She nodded, half awake but alert. Smart kid. I don't know how I kept it together enough to sound calm. I moved as quietly as I could out of the room, holding my breath every time the floor creaked. The house was pitch black, except for the faint blue glow from the sky leaking through the upstairs windows. The parent room was at the end of the hallway. I don't think I've ever moved slower in my life. My socks slid on the hardwood. My knees were shaking. Every single shadow looked like it could move. Every reflection in the window felt like it might blink. I got to the door, opened it. Inside, the room smelled like clean laundry and something faintly floral, like hand lotion. I felt weird even noticing it, like I didn't belong in their private space. But then I saw the phone. Landline. Beige, wired to the wall near the dresser. I picked it up and dialed 911 with hands that didn't feel like they were mine. It rang once, twice, then click. 911, what's your emergency? I tried to speak, but no words came out at first. I think I croaked something like, someone's in the house, I'm babysitting, there are kids here, he broke in. The dispatcher was calm, which made me feel like I had to be calm too. I gave the address. I explained everything I could in under a minute. She told me officers were already in the area and they'd be there in minutes. Don't engage. Stay quiet. Stay hidden, she said. Then, as I was talking, I heard the creak again. Not from downstairs, from the hallway, from right outside the door. I dropped the phone, literally dropped it. It hit the floor and spun once with that clattering plastic sound, and I dove under the bed like I was 6 years old hiding from the boogeyman. I watched from underneath as the doorknob turned, slowly, deliberately. Whoever was outside didn't say a word. They weren't trying to trick me or threaten me, just opening the door. Like they already knew someone was in there. It opened all the way. Boots stepped inside, heavy ones, not work boots, but something military looking. I could only see from the ankles down, but I swear he just stood there. Stood. Like he was listening. The closet door creaked open. He didn't find me, didn't speak. I held my breath so long I almost passed out. Then, distant sirens. Getting closer. Then a shout from outside. Police! Footsteps ran. Fast. The rest is kind of a blur. I remember running back to the kids' room, yanking the closet open. Lily was holding Sam's hand. I hugged them both and told them we were safe, even though I had no idea if that was true. The officers came in through the front. I saw their flashlights sweep the walls. I heard shouting in the backyard, more running. Eventually, one of them found us upstairs and guided us out of the house. I'll never forget what it looked like from outside. Flashlights crisscrossing the trees, fog thick like soup, radios crackling. My knees gave out on the lawn. I just sat there shaking, holding onto the two kids, while a female officer knelt beside me and kept saying, "You're okay. You're safe now." They caught him. He didn't make it far. Somewhere near the neighbor's shed about 100 yards into the trees. He was carrying a knife and a flashlight. No mask, no gloves. Just a guy in his 40s with a gray hoodie and dirt under his nails. Turns out, he used to work for the Harpers, a handyman they'd hired for some remodeling work the year before. They fired him after he made weird comments around the mom and showed up unannounced a couple of times. The Harpers came back the next day. The mom cried. The dad couldn't stop apologizing. They offered me money, but I didn't take anything. I just wanted to leave. That drive back through the redwoods the next day was worse than the first. Everything felt too quiet again, like the trees were holding their breath. I didn't play music. I didn't call anyone. And that was the last time I ever babysat. If you ever take a job like that, somewhere remote, somewhere where the nearest help is 20 minutes away, just think about it first. Really think. Because people always assume the worst things can't happen in beautiful houses and pretty places. But they can. And they do. This happened in 2019. I live in a two-story house in Northern California. Nothing fancy or anything, but it's in one of those newer, quiet suburbs, like cul-de-sacs and trimmed lawns and mailboxes that all look the same. One of those neighborhoods where everything feels safe, I guess. We've lived in that house since I was born. It's got big windows and a glass sliding door in the back that opens into our backyard, which is fenced. My parents both work in tech, and that weekend they were going to this conference in San Diego. It was Friday through Sunday, and they told me they were staying 2 nights. I remember because I asked if I could come, and they laughed and said, "You'd be bored out of your mind, kiddo." So I was staying home, and Chloe was coming to watch me. Chloe was in college. I'd known her for years. She used to live next door before her family moved about 20 minutes away. She babysat me like 4 or 5 times before that, and I always liked her. She brought board games, knew how to cook real food like mac and cheese that wasn't just out of a box, and let me stay up a little late when my parents weren't super specific, but this time felt different. The whole night was just weird. It started right after my parents left. They left around 3 p.m. My mom hugged me for like 10 whole seconds, and my dad gave me his usual "be good for Chloe" wink before they rolled their suitcases to the car. I stood at the window watching them leave, and Chloe was already on her phone behind me. I remember the way the light from the window made this rectangle across the floor, and how Chloe sort of stood half in it, half out. She looked kind of stressed. Not like panicky or anything, but she kept checking her phone over and over again. At first, I figured she was just talking to a friend or something, but even as I started unpacking some board games from the closet and asked if she wanted to play, she didn't really look up. "Maybe later," she said, and smiled. But it wasn't the same smile I remembered. It looked kind of forced. I figured maybe she just had a bad day. We ordered pizza for dinner around 5. She let me pick what I wanted. Half pepperoni, half cheese. She kept walking around the kitchen while she was ordering, pulling all the curtains shut, even though the sun was still out. I asked her why, and she looked up suddenly like I'd surprised her. "Huh? Oh, just don't want the house getting too hot," she said. Then she double-locked the front door. The AC was already on. When the pizza came, we sat in the living room and started watching a movie. Zootopia, I think. I was actually getting into it, kind of forgetting how weird Chloe was acting. She sat beside me on the couch, and we each had a plate. But every time her phone buzzed, she flinched. Not just like she was startled, more like she didn't want to see what was on the screen. She kept putting her phone face down on the couch, then picking it up again, then texting, then putting it back down. At one point, I looked over and saw that her hand was shaking. I asked, kind of dumbly, "Are you okay?" She blinked a couple times, then looked at me like she forgot I was there. Yeah, I'm fine," she said, just texting a friend. A few minutes later, during the part of the movie where the sloths are at the DMV, I heard her whisper really quietly, "Please stop texting me." That's when I got nervous. I didn't say anything. I just kept watching the screen and pretending I hadn't heard. But my ears were ringing. I started paying attention to the background sounds more than the movie. After dinner, it was starting to get darker outside. Chloe got up and told me it was time to brush my teeth. I didn't argue. I went upstairs, toothbrush in hand, and did my thing in the bathroom. On my way back, I passed the hallway mirror. That mirror freaked me out sometimes. It was long and skinny and faced the hallway, so it showed the reflection of the stairwell and part of the kitchen downstairs. And while I was passing it, I swear I saw someone move past the kitchen window. Just a shadow, just a blur. But it made me stop walking. I turned and looked down the stairs, but I didn't see anything. I told myself it was probably the neighbor's dog or a tree branch or something. Still, I walked fast back to the living room. Chloe was standing in the kitchen. She was staring at the back door. Her hands were up like she was mid-reach. She locked the deadbolt. Then she ran and flipped on the porch light. And through the glass of the back door, I saw him. A man in a hoodie, just standing there, not moving, not trying to run, just standing, facing the door like he was waiting for something. I gasped and stepped back. Chloe was breathing hard. She grabbed her phone and started dialing. She put the phone to her ear and turned away from the door, shielding me with her body like I was going to get grabbed or something. I could hear the 911 operator's voice coming faintly from the speaker. "Yes," Chloe said. "I need help. There's a man at the back door. He's not supposed to be here. I think he's trying to break in. The address is, I won't say it here, but she rattled it off fast, like she'd practiced. She started crying. That's when I crawled under the dining room. I don't know why. It just felt safer there. Everything felt big and loud and too quiet at the same time. The man outside started walking around the house. I could hear his footsteps on the gravel path near the side gate. Chloe followed him with her eyes as she stayed near the kitchen, like still on the phone, whispering stuff like, "He's circling, he's at the window, he's trying the side door now." Eventually, she sat down on the floor with her back to the pantry door. Her phone was pressed to her cheek. That's when she told me the truth. "He's my ex," she said, like she was confessing. "We broke up 3 months ago. He started showing up at my apartment, texting me, leaving notes on my windshield. I thought he'd stopped. I didn't think he'd follow me here." I just stayed quiet. My legs were cramping under the table, but I didn't move. I stayed under that table longer than I've ever stayed in one place in my life. My legs hurt. My neck was stiff from crouching. But I didn't move. I couldn't. The air in the house felt heavy, like it was waiting for something to happen. Chloe was still whispering into her phone, trying not to cry too loudly. I could hear her breathing between words. "I don't know if he's armed," she said. "But he's unstable. Please just hurry. There's a child here." She kept peeking through the blinds, then backing away. I didn't ask her anything. I didn't even want to know what she saw. That guy, her ex, he walked around the house for a long time. Maybe 10 minutes, maybe 20. I lost track of time. He knocked on one of the windows at some point. Not a hard knock, just a soft, slow tap, like he wanted to let us know he hadn't left. That sound, just those 3 taps, was somehow worse than if he'd been banging or yelling. It was like he knew how to scare us without making a scene. And then I heard it. The side gate, the metal one that led into the backyard from the driveway. It creaked. Chloe stood up, finally dropping her phone to her side, and rushed to the front of the house. She whispered, "Come out from under there. Now. We're leaving. We're not waiting." I crawled out fast and ran to her. She grabbed my hand and pulled me toward the garage door, the inside one next to the laundry room. But just as she pressed the button to open it, we both froze. The door from the garage creaked, not the one leading into the garage, the one that opens out, the outside garage door. He was in there, inside the garage. Chloe hit the lock button on the door and backed us away, one hand still holding mine, the other clutching her phone. "He's in the garage now," she whispered to the dispatcher. "I locked the door. He hasn't gotten inside the house yet." I could hear the panic in her voice now. It wasn't quiet anymore. And then, finally, sirens. 2 of them. Loud and close. Chloe pulled me into a tight hug right there in the laundry room, like that would somehow protect me from anything else that might happen. I could see the blue and red lights flashing through the little window by the front door. More footsteps outside, shouting, "Get on the ground! Let me see your hands! Now!" We couldn't see the backyard from where we were, but Chloe stayed crouched down, still hugging me, not moving a muscle. I think we were both afraid he was going to run into the house before they got him. But then, knocking at the front door. Fast. Heavy. Police. Chloe opened it slowly, cautiously, only after checking through the peephole twice. Two officers stood there with flashlights and what looked like stun guns or something on their belts. They told us to stay inside, that everything was under control. One of them said, "We got him. He was armed. You did the right thing calling." They asked Chloe a bunch of questions. Her name, how she knew him, how he might have known the address, how long he'd been bothering her. She told them everything. She cried a little while she talked. The guy, her ex, had followed her from her apartment earlier that day. She hadn't seen his car, but he must have tailed her here and waited for nightfall to try and come inside. He had a knife in his hoodie pocket. They said if she hadn't called right away, it could have been worse. Way worse. They didn't arrest Chloe or anything, but they took her in to make a full statement. Another officer stayed with me while we waited. He made me hot chocolate and let me sit in the back of the cruiser for a minute with the doors open just so I wouldn't have to be inside the house alone. I think he was trying to distract me, and honestly, it worked a little. My parents got called right away. They left the conference in San Diego and drove all night to get home. They were there by 5 a.m. I've never seen my mom cry like that. She just held me for so long in the driveway, kneeling down like she wanted to make sure I was still there. My dad talked to the officers while she hugged me. He didn't say much, but I could see his hands shaking. After that night, a lot changed. We got a new lock system, one of those with codes and cameras. My dad put motion sensors near every window. Chloe never babysat again, at least not for us. My parents didn't blame her, but I think everyone kind of understood. We all just wanted to move on. But I didn't forget. I still think about that moment in the mirror when I saw the shadow move outside. I think about how quiet that knock on the window was. Like it wasn't even meant to be heard by most people, just me. Sometimes I even wonder what would have happened if he had gotten in, if Chloe hadn't reacted as fast. It makes my stomach twist. I know people might say, "Oh, well, he didn't get inside. Nothing really happened." But they weren't there, because the scariest part wasn't what did happen, it's what almost did. That's it for today's tale from Shivering Vault. If you have a story worth sharing, drop it in the comments or send it our way. Don't forget to subscribe and share with your fellow thrill seekers. As always, the Shivering Vault thanks you for unlocking today's tale. Until next time, the vault awaits your return.